I'm Jim Hale. I'm a trustee at National Park College.
Yeah, I'm Mike Bush, and I also am a trustee here at the college.
Tell us about your connection to NPC and when did your journey begin?
Let's see, Dr. Fisher, the first president of the college, the man, I guess, who probably formed the college and got it cranking, asked me to serve on his foundation board back in the late 80s. I was with a company called Entergy, Arkansas now, but it was Arkansas Power and Light Company back then. I served on the foundation board for several years. I somewhere in the mid-90s or late 90s, they had a vacancy on the trustees, the board of trustees, and I was asked to serve as a trustee. So I've been a trustee since then. I've been through all four presidents, have enjoyed the heck out of it, and have seen the growth in both facilities and students, and the qualifications, I think, of the whole administration, I guess is a good way to say that. So, what about you, Jimbo?
Well, I actually go back to 1973 when it started. I was in the Army, and if you had been to Vietnam, they let you out early at Christmas. You know, I got out about 3 months early if I would promise to go to college. And so my dad had told me they had just started this college in the fall of '73, and so I signed up. And so that's how I first got acquainted with Garland County Community College.
That's right.
We had everything really was headquartered in the basement of First Methodist Church.
Yeah.
And then they had classes all over town. They would have them in. I remember they had I think it was an old. An old Catholic school on Silver Street. They had some classes at Langston, and they just had classes all over town. And so when the class was over, you had to get in your car and drive, sometimes 2 or 3 miles or more to get to the next class. And so that's kind of how I got acquainted with it. Had a basketball team back then that actually played at a portable court at the old convention auditorium. They were the Garland County Community College Lakers, and they were, I think, green and gold. So yeah, that's how I got started.
Yeah.
And in the mid-'90s, Governor Huckabee appointed me to a trustee or the board at Quapaw Technical Institute next door. And then we went, in I guess 2001, 2, or 3, somewhere in there, we went through the process of merging the two institutions together, and we combined the boards for a period of time. And that's how I got started on this board.
So y'all kind of touched on it, but is there any more you can add to the changes you've witnessed over the time to the college?
As the president changed, we were looking for each president to have certain strengths. For example, Dr. Fisher retired, and Dr. Spencer came on board and showed a few different strengths that we thought we needed administratively. Then Dr. Carter, Sally, came along after the merger. She was our third president. She had certain strengths socially and otherwise that we thought we needed, et cetera. And then John Hogan, we were very fortunate to get Dr. Hogan as the fourth and the president now. He showed us some things that we didn't know we could do. The growth and facilities, athletics is back, which was a big change. The dormitory here on campus, which I think is a great move. Wish we could do more right there, and hopefully we can in the near future. That's some of the things that I can recall as administrative changes occurred. Jim?
Yeah, and Mike, it seemed like, I don't even remember the exact year that the college relocated from various buildings downtown to out here.
I don't either.
Yeah, it probably was in the late 70s or early 80s. But this campus pretty well remained the same for probably a couple of decades. I don't remember, I think all the original buildings, both on the Garland County Community College side and the Quapaw Technical Institute side, that basically there wasn't anything being built. And, at some point in time, pretty soon after the merger, we pretty well realized that we needed to update our facilities. We needed some new things to generate some interest. And so, in about a decade, we built where the old softball field used to be, where all the water drained for the whole campus. We built the lab science building, if you remember.
Yeah.
And then where the old tennis courts were, we built the Dirks Nursing Center and Nursing Sciences Center. We added on a fitness center to the gym. We did some pretty extensive remodeling here. Of course, you mentioned the dormitory. We remodeled the Charlotte Phelps building next door. The Student Commons building, of course, has been remarkable. The Marine Technology building. So for at least a decade or two, we've been in a pretty good building mode, and as a result of all that, immediately we started seeing some good growth, especially in the first decade of the 21st century. And so, that old saying, if you build it, they'll come, it worked out pretty good.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
So that's one of the big changes, I think, is the physical plant.
I agree.
We've got, the parking is optimal now. The entrances, it's easy to get in and out here.
Yeah.
We're not just, for years, I think we were on the backside of the county and not a lot of people paying attention to us, but it's become a flagship and something that the entire community is proud of now.
Yeah.
Jim, you touched on the merger of Quapaw and National Park.
Yeah. I was.
Jim was the head man in that.
I was the chairman of Quapaw Technical Institute. Around 2000 or so, there was a legislator, Jody Mahoney from El Dorado, that he was bound and determined that he was going to force all the technical colleges to merge with the two-year colleges in their communities. And I believe he was chairman of the Education Committee, and the bill that he was trying to get through his committee failed by one vote. And so we, as a 5-member board at Quapaw, we realized that we were one vote away from probably being forced into a merger where we didn't have any say-so. And so our board talked about it, and my friend Don Harris was chairman of the board here at Garland County, and so I said, I think I can talk to him. So I called Don, and he got with Dr. Spencer, and I got with Dr. Carter, and we met out here at the Lake Hamilton Resort for lunch, where nobody would notice us or bother us. And we basically drew up a plan to merge the two institutions as equals, not with Garland County overtaking or consuming the Quapaw, but making it to where academics and technology were going to come in as equals. We ended up hiring Dr. Ed Franklin, who was the chairman or president, I guess, of the Arkansas Two-Year College Association. He came in, and for about a year and a half or 2 years, he walked us through the whole process. Both boards met together for a while. We had a steering committee that lined it up. In addition to myself, Dr. Janice Sawyer, who was vice president of finance here, she played a big role in that as well. And finally, we went through the process of a name change and came up with the recommendation for National Park Community College, and so that part of it was history. And so again, it just went through it was a merger of equals. Everything worked fine, I think that took place officially in 2003. So that was our 30th anniversary then, I believe, and so consequently, as a result, as soon as we merged and everything was fine, technical colleges and two-year colleges all over the state merged. They fell like dominoes falling. And so it worked out good, but we didn't rush into anything. We got good counsel, and it has been now for 20 years. It's been a blessing.
The two boards also merged, and representatives from both boards were consolidated.
Yeah, we went from a 9-member to a 14-member board, and then seemed like every year or two we would back that off till we got back down to the 9.
Yeah. It's been a godsend for the college. Now, the other thing, Jim, you didn't mention was, what is it? The marine
technology.
That area was also a new building.
Yeah. It's probably I guess it's the newest building, just a couple of years old now.
So,
Can you guys speak about how student experience has changed over y'all's time here, and what still remains the same?
well, I have been a student out here too, but to some of the classes. So I really don't know how much the student activities and all have changed, other than I know the student success is all we worry about and talk about and study. That's the one thing that's got to go on, and we want every student that comes to finish. But Jim, you may can add to that.
I think just starting out, I think we probably had instructors that were passionate. They might not have been as qualified on paper as they are now. And I know the standard is much higher for our instructors now. I think probably the quality of education out here and the breadth of education. Back then, it was kind of, 50 years ago, it was, you go to Garland County and you get your basics, and then you go on somewhere else. And now then, although you can still do that, there are a number of things like marine technology where, if you complete that course, there are places all over 2 or 3 counties surrounding where you immediately have a job. Yeah. Certainly nursing and health sciences is the same thing. That with the new facilities, the new instructors, the new need throughout the community for health care, that has been, a real blessing for the community and for our college as well. But I think it just seems like that these, I started to say kids, but these students that are graduating are very well equipped and prepared to immediately go in and make a difference in the community if they so desire, or then to go on and transfer to somewhere else. But, I know when I go to, you and I both are spending a lot of time in the hospitals and doctors' offices the last decade, and I always ask, where'd you get your nursing degree, or where'd you learn how to do this machine? And oftentimes it's either Garland County or National Park College. It's where they were trained, and I feel pretty confident when somebody's working on me that's been trained here. Yeah. So I think they got a good experience. What we've done with student commons and housing and athletics, intramurals. There's a lot of 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds that are getting what we, I guess, would call a university experience here on this campus. They're able to do. They're not just driving in, going to class, and going home. They've got a lot of things that they can participate in here now.
That really leads right into the next question. What do y'all believe sets National Park apart from the other campuses?
I think one thing, obviously, I think you can to go to college here for your freshman, sophomore year, have an associate degree. You're likely going to come out of this without having the kind of college debt, student loan debt that you would have somewhere else. I think you're going to get the same thing as you would go to Fayetteville or Jonesboro or Russellville or wherever, but at a lot less price. If you have kept your nose clean and done your homework and your grades are up, the transfer scholarship, if you want to go on to a four-year college, is wonderful. Both of our daughters did that and came out of here and went to Arkansas Tech and breezed through Arkansas Tech. And so I think the quality of the education, the quality of the facilities, the experience out here is preparing 18 and 19-year-olds for wherever they're going to go next.
Yeah, and in some cases, they don't have to go. They can stay right here and get the 4-year degree.
That on-campus thing with problem partnership.
Yeah,
I knew it started with a P. The partnership that we have with other four-year schools. That's been for those folks that want to stay here. It's been a great deal, great benefit.
Yeah, and I think the college, from a community standpoint, I was very, very active in the community back in my day when I was younger, and I can tell you the relationships that this college has with the powers to be, or just the normal folks, is the standards have been way up, and I think that's great. I think the current administration has made sure of that, and serving in leadership positions of different at the chamber or at some of these industrial development type things, and I think that's important. At some point down the road, we're probably going to have to go ask the people for a vote of confidence, and maybe add some dollars to the college, and you're not going to get that if you don't have the relationship with those folks that we now have. In my opinion, I think it's important.
Mm-hmm. Again, y'all led right into the next question. What do y'all hope to see for the future of National Park College and their students?
Personally, I want to see this upward development of not only facilities, as Jim alluded to, but the caliber of our instruction. I want all that to continue to grow, and I think it will. I think as time goes on, with the current administration and that probably will come next. I think we'll continue to see it grow.
Well, I think if we're going to continue to attract the kind of folks that are going to come here and do well, graduate, and go on to be productive part of our society, I think we're going to have to make sure we still are giving them the entire package of the college experience. We obviously have got to find a way to expand our housing, the first one we've done has been obviously more than successful. That's got to continue to work. I think since we've kind of opened the door with athletics, I think there's a lot of additional athletic programs, things like wrestling. That's one of the fastest growing sports. There are a lot of people around that would love to come here and wrestle. There's a lot of folks that would like to participate on a cross-country team. Some of these things that, again, will attract kids that are coming right out of high school and they want to continue to do their sport, and their sport may not be just basketball or softball or baseball. So I hope that we can expand that. But again, I think we've done a lot of focus on making sure that our faculty is top notch, and that in the administration they've got the support that they need. And so hope we'll continue that, continue to evaluate the facilities we need. I mean, I think that welding is ready for a facility. We could, certainly improve our participants there. There are just some things that we need to address physical plant wise. So.
It's been a long ride and a good ride for me personally. I've enjoyed the heck out of it, and it felt like I've been a part of some good stuff and some helpful stuff for our children and our kids that are from this region. I think if we continue to grow, we're going to have to expand that region a little bit as far as recruiting. I think that'll happen in the near future.